So I'm going to do a talk about 30 minutes. So you're going to be stuck with me for 30 minutes. My goal today is really to introduce Firefox OS, talk about why we are doing Firefox OS, why it's good for the web, and I hope why you are there today. So my name is Frederick Harper. You can call me Fred. I'm a technical evangelist at Mozilla, like Jason. So my role is to give love to developers. This is basically my role, is to help you to be successful on the platform, to use Firefox OS. So if you're on Twitter, feel free to tweet during the presentation. I really like those. You can use my Twitter handle, @fharper. Quote what I said, disagree with what I said. If you have any question, let me know. We are there to help today. The good folks at Ustreams are recording the presentation, so that's going to be probably available online soon. I'm also recording my presentation, so you don't have to take notes on anything that are on the slides. That's going to be on my personal blog, outofcomfortzone.net. My slides going to be there, but also a recording of my presentation is going to be there, so you don't have to take notes of those things. So I have no idea how to say this, thanks to Google Translate. I think that basically, and tell me if I'm wrong, that means sorry I don't speak Hungarian. Was it good? Google Translate was good? I tried to say it yesterday at my hotel room, but it sounds so weird, so I'm not going to do this today. So sorry, I don't speak Hungarian, so that's going to be in English on my presentation. So I want to talk about what you deserve as developer, as user of today's web. What are you deserving? It's a platform like Mozilla, Firefox OS. So Firefox OS is an OS that we're working on. It's basically, I lost video. That's going to be bad. Yeah. So it's basically made for smartphone and also for tablet. On the desktop, we have Firefox. We already have a good platform for you for web user. So we created a platform that's going to work on smartphone, but also on tablets. We're working with tablets right now, so that's going to be there soon. And Firefox OS, it's really using the technology you know. If you're a web developer, if you're doing, I don't know, maybe you're a PHP developer. Even if you're doing PHP, you're using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So Firefox OS is based on the technology of the web of today. HTML5, CSS3, and JavaScript. And what we did is that we had some APIs to help you to build really great application. I don't know for you, how many people consider themselves web developer? Kind of? Okay. I don't know for you, but oh my God, that's going to happen all the time. I don't know for you, but I had so often those discussions about native app versus web app. And I was like, yeah, there's a lot of great things we can do with web apps. But at some point, we were missing some APIs to really give us access to the hardware, to really give us access to some of the functionalities that I really want to implement when I'm building web application, when I'm building mobile application. So it's where Firefox OS comes in. So it's open source. You can go on GitHub, you can download the code, clone it, fork it, make some modification. You can see how it's done, you can see how it's implemented, you can play with the code. So this is one of the things that I really like. Because when I'm using something, I know what's behind. As a developer, I can go in the code and understand what the people did. And I can work with that code. I can help with that code. So it's not just a Mozilla thing, it's a community thing. There's a lot of developers all around the world that are working to make that platform the best platform out there. There's a really nice architecture when we think about Firefox OS. So at the base level, we are using Gunk. This is an open Linux kernel and driver. So we did not reinvent the wheel. We took something that went well, but we removed some layer that was slowing down the meshing. So what we put on top of it, we put Gecko. And you probably know Gecko because this is what is behind Firefox. So we took the same nice technology and we use it as a web runtime, but also we added some open web API to give you the power that you need to create your web application. And on top of that, when you open up a Firefox OS phone, you have what we call Gaia. Gaia is the user interface using HTML5, CSS3, and JavaScript. So when you're running the OS, what you see is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You may have seen some video online with App Manager, and Jason will talk about App Manager later. But you can go on your phone and you can modify the UI of the OS. Why? Because it's web technology, because it's HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. So the phone is all based on those technologies. So when you open the application, the mail application, the contact application, when you are making a call, you're using web application. So there is a lot of benefits to use HTML5. First, this is an inbuilt distribution system. The web is the platform. The web is the marketplace. Every web application is a Firefox OS application for me. This is simple technology we use. A lot of developers, I told you, if you're doing PHP, you're doing HTML, CSS, JavaScript at some point. If you're a .NET developer, you're using HTML, CSS, JavaScript. If you're not a developer and you used to have, I stole that quote from a colleague, Christian Altman, I really like it. If you used to have a GeoCities page, how many people are old enough to know those GeoCities page? I know, Jason, you're old enough. But so those were ugly, so ugly. But there were still web pages. There were still web technology. So you have access. And there's a lot of great tools that give us the possibility to technical and non-technical people to be creator, to create stuff on the web, to create pages, to create web application. This is an evolution of an existing practices. So we did not invent other languages. We didn't ask you to learn something new. HTML5, you always say HTML5, but at the end this is HTML. This is a new version. This is HTML5, it's after HTML4. Brilliant quote, yeah? Brilliant quote. So this is not something new. We just had new stuff, new feature, new element to really give the power in the hands of the developers. This is open. This is independent. Mozilla did not make HTML. We did not make JavaScript. We did not make CSS. Those are standard. There's a W3C that manages those things like HTML5. So it's not something from us. It's not something from Apple. It's not something from Microsoft. It's open standard. So when we talk about Firefox OS, you may say, hey, Firefox OS is kind of new. Of course, it's kind of new. But we have some amazing facts that I really like to show when we talk about Firefox OS. We released phones in Spain, Poland, Venezuela, Hungary, yesterday morning. It's, I totally forgot the company, but Telenor. Sorry, I'm so bad. You're going to kill me after. So Telenor yesterday launched a phone in Hungary, so you can buy it now. Colombia, Uruguay, Mexico, Brazil. You can buy phones online also on eBay. The ZTE Open. There is a US version, a UK version. So we are starting to be in many countries, and this is only the beginning. We are working with 18 mobile operators and 6 hardware partners. So it's not just a dream of Mozilla anymore. It's a dream that are including a lot of people. We're starting to have many hardware possibility, many devices, talking about the ZTE Open, talking about the Alcatel One Touch Fire, this phone here that we have, if you want to see it, this is a real nice phone. We have the Geeks Phone Keon. This is the phone that you're gonna get. So those are developer devices, but really good phone to try it, really good phone to develop, to test your application, and even to use it day to day. And we have the Geeks Phone Peaks, the LG FireWeb, and this is, again, only the beginning. So when we talk about Firefox OS, our goal is not to compete with the big guy. Or I shouldn't say the big guy, because I think that Firefox OS is part of the big guy. This is a real OS, this is a powerful OS, but our goal is not to be the third guy or the second guy, or to compete with iOS and Android. Our goal is to give an alternative to people that are using feature phone, to emerging market, to low-end market, to give an open alternative, to give a good device to people that may not be able to afford the latest iPhone, or people that don't want the latest iPhone, or people that don't want to be stuck with the 3-year contracts. I don't know if you had this here, but in Canada, this is like so painful. I can get a phone for really cheap, but I have to be stuck 3 years with the telecommunication company. Maybe I don't want to, because I'm traveling, because I'm moving, because I'm went to many places. So Telenor Hungary, that's like, I should have remembered it. Just launched yesterday. You can now buy that phone. It's pretty cheap for a full-fledged smartphone. Really good device, really good software. So this is pretty good. This is really good. When we talk about Firefox OS, this is the goal. If you go on eBay, you want to buy the ZTE Open, it's around $80 US. So it's kind of, what, 16,000? I cannot do the conversion rate to foreign, but actually it's that kind of number. So I told you before that every web application for me is a Firefox OS application, and this is true because today, for people that are late, I asked them to sing in front of people or do some dance. No? You don't want to sing? You need to sing. You need to sing a song in front of people. Yeah. I like it. I like it. You're probably the first person. I'll do this every time. You're probably the first person to really kind of sing. So what you can do right now today is take any web application that you already have. You have an application that is running in the browser. You want to make it a Firefox OS app. You only need to add a manifest file. This is basically a JSON file where you're going to put a JSON file where you're going to put all the information about your application. So you're going to put the version, the name, the description, the icons. You're going to have links to the launchpad. You're going to put information about permission. You're going to put information about the language of your application. So this is basically the manifest file for your application with all the information. Oh my God, there's something wrong.
Try the RGB one.
Yeah, that should be good. You're not going to die if you're not seeing the slide for a couple of seconds. You should look at me, the slides. So basically, you had a manifest file, and you have a Firefox OS app. This is it. So this is the first step if you want to create an app. But what is really a Firefox OS app? So you have two kind of apps. You have the hosted app. So I can have the app on my server. I can use GitHub pages, and I can either or not deploy it on the marketplace, and that's going to be a link to my application. So for the hosted app, I can use some API. I can use some stuff. I don't have to Mozilla to verify my application. It's just a Firefox OS app. I can also have package app. So it's basically a zip file with all my HTML, CSS, JavaScript, my sounds file, my images, everything put inside a zip file. I can or cannot put that application on the marketplace if I want or not. But in that case, what's going to be great is that with a package app, I'm going to be able to use different API. So I told you before that any web application, HTML application, or Firefox OS application, but we had some API to really give you access to some of the stuff that you don't have access right now. So you can do what I call vanilla HTML5 application. So you don't use any specific Firefox OS API, and that's going to be a Firefox OS application. That's going to be a web application. But you can also use what we call regular, privileged, and certified API, but I'm going to come back on it a little more after. There's a marketplace. You don't have to pay a fee to be a developer to publish your application to a marketplace. You know, some of the SDK or other platform, you have to download the SDK, you have to pay a fee, $99 most of the time, just to be able to be a developer. We don't charge anything. And we don't even force you to publish your application to the marketplace. Of course, today, my goal is that everybody in the room build an application and publish it to the marketplace. This is really what I would like. Because this is where people, I don't know what's happening. This is where people is going to publish application. This is where users are going to look for application first. But you can build your own marketplace. You can put your application on your website. But there is a marketplace. I highly encourage you to look at it and to publish your application in. So I told you about API that we created. And when I say that we created, is that now we saw that we were missing some APIs to really give you access to the hardware, to really give you access to the feature you need to create application. Our goals are not to make proprietary APIs. So there are things that are working mostly in Firefox OS for now. But we're working with the standard body. We're working with other companies to be sure that those one will be in the standard. And if tomorrow the standard is something else, we're going to change Firefox OS to reflect that standard. So we have what we call web APIs. And it's really what's going to give you all the power to really integrate in the platform, to really have access to hardware, particular feature, hardware pieces in your application. So we have what we call the regular API. Alarm API, archive API, battery status. We don't usually have this when you're building a web application. So you have access to all those APIs. Those are called regular API. That means that you can use those API in a hosted app. You don't have to be verified. Your apps don't have to be verified by Mozilla because those are not dangerous. You cannot screw up a phone. You cannot create a virus. You cannot have bad intention. So you can use those API in your application, either in a hosted or package app. So, two is example, the ambient light sensor. So look at that code. What is it? This is JavaScript. So you are using JavaScript, you had an event listener on device light, and that's going to be able to give you the sense, in terms of lux, the sensibility, the light, ambient light around your device, around your phone. So that may be good if you're building, I don't know, an RSS reader. And when it's darker, you want to change the phone, you want to change the background. When it's lighter, when there is more light, you want to change it because that's going to be easier to read. So you're going to have access to this really easy after. When I'm entering my function, I call event.value, and I'm going to have the value in lux. So I'm going to be able to use it in my application. The battery status, it's really something that I like, because if I'm in my application, I'm a developer, I'm creating my application, and I can check. Again, this is JavaScript. This is not something we invented. This is JavaScript, technology you know day to day. Use navigator.battery. And after this, I can see the level. I can see if the phone is charging, how much time it's charging, how much time before the phone will be dead. And this is good for me because as a developer, if I'm building an application where you have to enter data, I want to be sure that the data you enter won't be screwed. So maybe I need to check the battery once in a while and save it when the battery is going to be nearly dead. Or if I'm building a game, maybe it's a good time where the battery is very low to pause the game because I don't want the user to lose the level or to be killed in my game or whatever. So I have access to those API with JavaScript. There are other APIs that we call privileged API, like the browser one, the contact one, the device storage. So those one are particular. Because they're a privileged API, you're going to need to use them in package app, and you're going to need to submit your app to the marketplace. And we're going to have to review your apps. So in that time, you won't have a choice. But this is only to product users. So we guarantee a quality of application to user by verifying those apps. And you're going to tell me, hey, Fred, you just told me that Firefox OS is all about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and you give me a browser API. Are you serious? And even on the phone, you have a browser. In an HTML OS, you have a browser on the phone. That could be useful because I can access any web app in the browser directly. They don't have to be Firefox OS app. You don't have to have a manifest. But I'm building now, I don't know if you use this here, Remember the Mail. This is a to-do list application. There is no, is there someone from Remember the Mail here? No, okay. They did not do a great job to support mobile devices with responsive design. So when I'm on my mobile phone, it's real hard for me to use the application. So I say, okay, they have an API. I request an API, and I'm building a Firefox OS app for that service. But to be able to access that API, I need to ask a key. I have the API key, I need to ask a password, and we need to talk together to be sure that I'm going to have access. It's way easier for me to use the browser API. So this is basically an iframe. I just had the mouse browser word in my iframe, and that's going to be a browser. I'm going to be able to use the browser API. So this is some code that I created, and in JavaScript, I'm going to be able to handle a lot of events. So in my case, what I did for my Remember the Milk application, I said, okay, first time the user uses my application, he needs to log into his account and give access to his account to my application. I'm using the browser API, and I'm saying, okay, when mouse browser location change, it's probably because the user logged in and gave me access. The application returns me a key, but in the link. So I can grab that link from the API. So I can use that API in my application, but in my case, I'm going to have to do a package app and upload it to the marketplace. Contacts is another one. Again, JavaScript. You're going to hear me say this often because I really like the fact that I can use HTML, CSS, JavaScript. I don't have to learn a new SDK, I just need to learn those APIs. And we have so much documentation about those things. And we have people like us, evangelists, that are there to help you. So it's really easy to create those applications. What I'm going to do if I want to create a new contact, I can create a new mouse contact. I'm going to edit that contact, and I'm going to just put the name Tom, and I'm going to be able to do some stuff if it's successful. If it fails for whatever reason, I'm going to be able to handle this. So really easy to do again. There are some other APIs that you won't be able to use. Why, Fred, are you talking about API I'm not able to use? So basically the certified API, it's mostly for the OS, like the application that you have on Gaia. But I'd like to talk about those really quickly to give you an overview of which kind of API are available in the certified level of permission. Because two things. First, most of them you're going to be able to do this with what we call web activities. You're going to be able to kind of do this with web activities. I'm going to talk a little more about those. But there's nothing that say that those APIs won't be privileged API at some point. So for now, they're certified API, but the team may decide that, hey, maybe the camera API is not something dangerous. Maybe it's something that we can move to privileged API. So it's good to know that they are there, because at some point they may move in other categories. I talk about web API. There's also something that we call web activities. And those are really awesome because they give you the opportunity to do stuff that you may not be able to do with web API. Either because you don't want your apps to be a privileged app, either because those APIs are for certified application and you're not an application part of the OS, so you want to do some stuff. You can browse, you can dial, you can create new email, new web contact. And again, this is JavaScript. So in that case, I have an application where I want to be able to retrieve some images from the phone of the user. So we don't let you retrieve any images because you probably would be able to use images that maybe the user don't want to share with your application. So what we have the pick activities. I'm going to do new mouse activities. The name of my activities is pick. The type of data that I'm retrieving right now, I want JPEG. I don't know why, I just want JPEG. I would have been able to say I want all images type. Now in that example, I just want JPEG. What's going to happen? The user will have to manually choose the image. So you're going to have that pop-up, and it's going to give you the opportunity to select either from the wallpaper for the gallery or use the camera to take new pictures. So you will receive the image. You're going to be able to say, hey, if my activity was successful, I'm going to take the images and do something with it. Display it in my application, crop it, send it by, I don't know. You're going to be able to use that image. But the user will have to manually take the image. So this is where the production of that API comes in. You did not choose any image. We give the power to the user to do that task for you. And this is where it's really interesting. Dial. Maybe I don't want all Firefox OS applications be able to call anywhere in the world, anyone, whatever they want. So you can do this if you're a certified application. I tell you before, you cannot use those API right now. So we have the dial web activity. What's going to happen now is that I'm not going to call someone, but if your application needs to click on a phone, that's going to prepare the call for the user. That's going to fill the data. That's going to open the dial application. That's going to put the number there. The user will have to say, no, I don't want to call that number, or yes, I want to call that number. So you see the difference now? It's not, I give you some power as developers without removing the trust from your application to the user, because you're not dialing for it. You're not creating SMS for it. You're not creating specific things for the user. You're just helping the user to do a task more quickly. I think it's because I'm getting on the contact. I can create a contact with web activities. So I'm not going to create a contact directly, but I'm going to prepare a head contact. That's going to open the head contact. This is a web contact web activities. I'm going to fill it with my name, my email, company, whatever information I would want to put there. That's going to open that screen. So I did not create a contact, but the user can just click on done, and that's it. The contact has been created. I can also be a receiver, because I told you how to get information with web activities, but I can be one of the receivers. So if someone another application want to select As an example, images. I can say, hey, by the way, Firefox OS, I can be someone who can handle a pick activities. And I'm going to be able to do this with some images. So you're going to have to put this in your code. But that's not the only thing. Remember the manifest? I told you that mostly everybody goes there. Don't forget a manifest. You're going to have to put this in the manifest and say, hey, for the activities pick, when that's going to be JPEG and PNG, I can handle this. So please think about my application when someone's going to need the pick activities. So this is quite powerful. And what is great, you won't see that images quite often, but what is great is that all the hosted apps that's going to use web activities are going to work also in Firefox on Android. So when I told you before, we're talking always about Firefox OS apps. For me, they are HTML5 apps. So it's why it's working in Firefox for Android. So how to start? Do you know the underpants business model? Yeah, some of you know, some of you just think that I'm weirder than the child before. I totally understand. So this is not complex. This is not like the business plan for the underpants gnome. You just have to use your actual HTML5 application. Put a manifest, you're good to go. You don't have any, create one. You just have to create a web application. Or you can use things like PhoneGap. Actually, we're working really closely with those guys to be sure that the support that Firefox OS is well supported in PhoneGap. And if you have any questions, Jason is way better than me when it comes to PhoneGap. He is our PhoneGap man in the team. And actually, I think we're pretty good with PhoneGaps right now. We're really near to have a really good integration in the next release, I think. But you can now start to use it. I think if you go get the code, you're going to be able to have everything you need to port your application to Firefox OS. But even if you don't do this, I mean, you're not comfortable with this, I worked with a developer who had PhoneGap's application. And it took him maybe 1 hour or 2 just to remove PhoneGap specific things to port his application to Firefox OS. So this is really quick. And PhoneGap is just one example. There's Sencha, there's a lot of frameworks that give you the opportunity to use HTML technology and port it to multiple platforms like iOS, Android, name it. But think about Firefox OS also. I'm not going to go too deep in Firefox OS Simulator and App Manager because Jason's going to talk to you about those amazing tools that you really need to know if you want to be able to develop easily with Firefox OS. Same things about the Firefox web developer tools. Jason's going to talk about it. There's not only Firefox in the Firefox world, so you're going to see those are really amazing tools. If you have to remember one link for my presentation, and the guys from the MDM team will like me, this is the Mozilla Developer Network. This is a big wiki, a big documentation site with everything around web technology. Everything around web technology, around Firefox, around Firefox OS, this is the only link you need. If you want to know how to do something in either in HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or specific with the web API or web activities of Firefox OS, this is the place to go. There's also the Mozilla Axe blog. So this is a technical blog that the evangelist team are running, but we're working closely with product team, with other developers, with people from the communities. Those are technical posts around web technology, Firefox, Firefox OS. So this is also a really great blog if you want to get information about it. Something new we started. No, we did not start Stack Overflow, and Stack Overflow is not new. But we started to be more involved in Stack Overflow because we really think that it's the best resources out there when it comes to technical question forums. And Stack Overflow is really amazing for that. What you can do today, you can go on Stack Overflow if you have any question. That's going to be even way better than sending an email to me or Jason and ping us on Twitter because you're going to have access to a lot of resources. And what we are doing now is that if you have the tag Firefox OS in your question, you be sure that either Jason, either other people in the team, or other people in the communities will be there to help you. And why I said that it's better than email is first, Because if you send me an email and I'm traveling and I won't have time to see your email maybe in 1 week and you're waiting for your question to continue your development, it's not quite effective. If you go there, if I don't have the time, maybe Jason has the time, maybe someone else in the team, maybe you have the time and you know the answer and you're going to answer it. So this is going to be way quicker. But the second thing is that we're trying to build also a kind of FAQ. Because Stack Overflow is not just about asking questions, it's about searching questions. So I can go there. If I'm stuck somewhere, before asking a question, I'm going to search for it. So Stack Overflow, more Firefox OS questions we're going to have there, more happy we're going to be. There's also some candies, and I'm going to stop to talk after this. No, I'm not going to give real candies. So if you want to start, but you don't want to start from scratch, there is the Firefox OS boilerplate. This is an open source project. You can go on GitHub. The links will be at the end of my presentation. There's a lot of web API and web activities already implemented in that application. So this is basically a demo application. You go there, you can understand the code, understand how is it working. So really good tool when you're starting to build application. And what is great is that you can participate. If you see that there is a web API missing or web activities, you can fork the project, add the code, push something to the project, and we're going to be more happy because this is really a demo application that we're using all the time. So really good things to start to understand how the code is running. But just not adding documentation. This is a live example. How many of you know GSFido? So this is a really great place because I use this a lot when I want to share code with people. This is a little bit like, no, I was going to say that this is like GitHub GIS, but no. This is like GSBin or those kind of applications. So really good to share code with people, to be able to prototype really quickly. I'm going to put my code there. I'm going to see the demo. Really great to prototype. And we're happy enough at Mozilla that the guy behind GSFido really likes Firefox OS. So what you can do now is that on GSFido, if you happen web-app.manifest, you're going to be able to install your application in the Firefox OS simulator right now. You don't have to create a manifest yourself. It's already there for you. You also can have the fxos.html, fsox.html, and you're going to be able to install the application on the Firefox OS device. Again, you don't have to upload it to your server. You don't have to put it somewhere. Just using GSFido, really nice to prototype and do something really quick. There's also the Firefox OS UI component. So one thing with Firefox OS is that we have some guidelines when it comes to UI, but we don't force you because we're not expecting you to create Firefox OS apps. We're expecting you to create web application. So of course, if you want your application to look like a little bit like Gaia, like the other applications that are there on Firefox OS, go for it. I won't stop you. If you don't want to, it's totally okay. But we have some building blocks. We have some CSS transition. This is basically a chunk of code that you can basically copy and paste in your application. Just understand how it's made. So this is really great when you start, or if you suck at UI like me, trust me, I'm a not so bad developer, but when it comes to UI, oh my God, this is terrible. So having those building blocks really helps me. How many people know web components? So there is Mozilla Brick. What is really great is that it's a little bit like the building block. So you can just put a chunk of code, but that use some markup. But what is great is that this is rendering with the browser. So it's way more faster. So this is something new. We're working on it. You can already go there, use Mozilla Brick in your application, and you're going to see that it's really, really fast. So what's coming next? More API. I will say it again, this is only the beginning. I'm really proud of that platform. I joined Mozilla maybe 4 months ago, and Firefox OS is astonished. This is a really great platform. Of course, you will say, yeah, Fred, you work at Mozilla. This is a good thing for you to say. No, I'm really proud of it. But this is only the beginning. And trust me, I know the guys who are working at the platform, they're those kind of crazy coder. They really believe in the platform. You're going to see more APIs coming. So this is really amazing. And you're going to see more tools coming. There's something that we call App Maker. It's really beta, alpha. You cannot be wrong when there is cat pictures in a tool. So this is basically a drag and drop tools that will be able to help you to create the interface to create the application, but also help people that are not technical to create application. So let's put my sounds effect and my big voice. I told you a lot of times, it's only the beginning. It's only the beginning of the platform. That sucks, huh? I thought it was good, but no. This is only the beginning. We're starting, and you're going to see more and more stuff. So there is some resources there. I'm going to put this presentation online, some resources that you can access there. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. Or what you can do, even better, if you have a technical question, go on Stack Overflow, ask a question, send me an email with the link. I'm going to answer the question, but I'm going to be happy because your question with my answers or everybody else's answers is going to help more developer. Feel free to go on Twitter, also at fharper, axe.mozilla.com. Really, really nice blog. Quite active. I think we have 3 to sometimes more blog posts per week. So it's really good, really great resources, really great technical blog. Of course, outofcomfortzone.net, if you have some time to lose, go on my personal blog, sometimes in French, sometimes in English. Most of the time, what I used to say in Franglish, because my English is not perfect. Sometimes technical, sometimes not technical. I'm going to put the slides and the recording online. If you have any question, comment, insult,